Gentleman yields back. We now go to the gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman, for 5 minutes.
I want to echo the gentleman from Maryland. I can't agree with him more. The world is diverse, and the job of the State Department is a relationship with the world. Okay, you've got to decide how much effort to put in the process of giving visas, particularly business visas, tourist visas. Business people come here to buy products, some of them made in my district. Tourism is a big deal for Los Angeles. And time and again, I get calls from people who are delayed for a year, 2 years, sometimes 3 or 4 months. I was in the business world before I came here. I know our chair has spent a lot of time in the business world. I've never seen a good business deal that can wait 3 months for the meeting. Has the State Department ever even tried to calculate the enormous harm that you do to our economy by basically telling people in a lot of countries, don't try to do business in the United States, it's a huge hassle. Don't try to visit the United States, there are beautiful vistas elsewhere, and it's a huge hassle to get here. Has there been any cost-benefit analysis of the decision to have what has got to be the slowest visa granting process of any foreign ministry in the world?
Thank you, Congressman, for the question. It's a supreme joy of mine in this seat to be able to manage consular affairs at this Department of State. We are responsible for taking a look at visa fraud, passport fraud, human trafficking, illegal immigration on a regular basis. You specifically are pointing out the visa.
It was pretty much a yes/no question. Has there ever been an analysis?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes.
So you have an analysis that says that the delays in issuing business and tourist visas are not costing America billions of dollars of economic activity?
The median wait time for all visas for consular affairs globally is 1 month.
Oh, that's great if your business deal wants to wait a month. And by the way, I get calls all the time, particularly from India, from Pakistan, where the delay is 4, 5, 6 months.
Would the gentleman yield to?
I'll yield to the chair, yes.
Following up on that, since we do see the same situation, you're saying how long between the time you actually get the appointment, you actually get there. You are aware that it can be months, many months, sometimes beyond belief before somebody can get the appointment that goes there. So the 1 month may be a wonderful average, but you know, Abraham Lincoln told us you could drown if you were 6 foot tall in the average 5 foot depth river. The average doesn't tell the story that the gentleman's talking about of delays of months before you even get an appointment.
And I would hope that you would do the analysis, because there are a lot of businesses that can't wait a month and a lot of places in the world where that visa to first get the appointment and then the appointment is a month after you get it is many, many months. Okay, we fired a bunch of people. You wanted to reduce the number of staff. And it makes sense to look at the organization chart and see some boxes and say, well, we don't need a person in that box, we don't need a person in that box. But what I understand you did is, if you had a superb employee in the box that you don't need, you didn't move them to another box, you fired them, and then you could have an underperforming employee in a box you're keeping, and you're keeping that employee. Did you evaluate the capacities and performance of individuals and then put them in the boxes you wanted? Or did you just fire anybody who was in a box that seemed like we don't need that box?
Congressman, the reduction in force is all about functions and not the individual, not people.
Yes, but if you want to perform this function and you have a great person that's performing a function you don't need, why not keep the great person and have them do the function you want instead of firing people based, because in the State Department, you guys are moving people around from function to function. It's a game of musical chairs.
It's what we do.
If somebody happened to be 6 months ago a great performer in a great function, they still have a job. But if somebody was a great performer and they've recently been transferred to a function you don't need, that great performer is out, right?
In this instant, Congressman, if someone has been RIF'd, start last Friday, they will have the opportunity to apply for a job that absolutely fits their skill set, their experience, and their language capabilities if that's part of the job.
But
we have a.
as far as immediate decisions, you've retained certain underperforming employees, and you've terminated some spectacular employees because you didn't evaluate the individual employees and all of their experiences. You just said, well, if in the musical chair games it is a State Department, they happen to be in a box we don't need, they're out. They can apply for something else, unless, if they're really good, they'll find a job in the private sector. I believe have I gone too long?
Well, you've gone as long as I'm going to let you go, Mr.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. We now go to the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Keating, for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just concerned, when you fired over 1,000 employees, and, you know, eventually, you're going to have to replace those people, new people coming in. What's your pitch to those people after you've just fired 1,000 career people?
Congressman, I'm afraid I didn't hear the exact question. What's the?
I just said, you just fired more than 1,000 employees.
Right.
Eventually, you're going to have to recruit and bring new people into the service. So what's your pitch to these people after you've just fired these career people that are thinking of making a career here? I mean, what do you say to them? Maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe if you take an allegiance to something and beforehand. I mean, what if you had a son or daughter and they're thinking of career and they want to become a foreign service person and have a career here? Would you be worried that embarking on a career where career people just got ruthlessly fired?
Congressman, there's never a perfect time to conduct a reduction in force. We are very aware of that. We took we did everything we could with as much heart as we could when we went through and exercised and implemented this reduction in force on Friday.
Please, you know, I have 5 minutes, but I don't believe that. You know what my son or daughter would call that? BS. Okay. This was just done so ruthlessly. So let's not even go there, because I don't have time for that. I'm concerned about the future after you've done this, and I'm concerned too. So many of the people that I know that have made careers, and people that I talk to that had careers, a lot of those things occurred in the university. Have you ever spoken to U.S. diplomat in residence?
I have, sir. Yes.
Do you see the value of that position?
In many instances, absolutely.
So you've got these young people. What would you tell them if it was your son or daughter, about job security?
Mm-hmm. I will say, Congressman, you are perhaps referring to some of the details and fellowships that we have in the State Department that take place with other government agencies, with DOD, with non-governmental organizations, with state and local governments,
I'm also
as
talking
well
about
as with
people,
as well as with Congress.
at the college stage, post-college stage, they're thinking of making careers. You know, this is going to, you don't think this would damage the future potential to hire the best going forward?
We made a concerted effort, sir, to put in place an organizational structure that matched the foreign policy goals of this administration.
Well, I'll tell you this, those goals don't include recruiting the best down the road coming forward. I'm also concerned, too, when you're looking at major events like the Olympics in 2028 and what's going, are we going to have the people in place? I know the Secretary of State said, don't worry about it. But I don't see how in some of these countries we're going to have the people in place to do big functions like that.
Congressman, we feel quite good about being able to welcome visitors to the United States for the FIFA World Cup, as well as America 2025 and the Olympics in 2028. I will tell you that the majority of the folks that we expect to come for the FIFA World Cup will be coming from Mexico and Canada. So those folks, for the most part, have visas and are able to come into the United States. We have all of government effort to ensure that we are prepared and ready for the onslaught of visitors that we absolutely welcome to the U.S.
Glad,
for the Cup.
remember those words when the time comes, because the way you're progressing with this and the things you're doing don't inspire confidence that that's going to be the place. And invariably, you can look right down this row, and it's our offices that get these calls all the time when these things aren't undertaken properly. I just want to touch, too, I don't have much time, on the cuts to the consulate offices that have occurred and the danger, the dangers, actually, that represent not having those in place in places like France and Germany.
Well, I can tell you that with the reorganization and the reductions in force that took place last Friday, there are no cuts to the number of personnel in the Consular Affairs Bureau. We have part of that whole reorganization.
My time's running out. So the cuts in there's no cuts in the fraud prevention office? There's no cuts in the consular systems and technology office?
No, sir.
That's not the information I have. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. We now go to the gentleman from New York for his 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield my time to the ranker, Ms. Shaffilis McCormick.
Thank you, Representative. I just want to follow up on some questions. My biggest question is that you mentioned that you were directed to reduce by 15% for M. And what was the basis of that number? How did you derive that 15% that was supposed to be cut?
That 15%, Congresswoman, was not just for the M family of bureaus, but across the board at the State Department. When we started the discussions regarding reorganization, we weren't looking at a specific number to cut, a certain percentage, but rather we worked with our undersecretaries, with career and foreign service personnel to make sure that we got that right.
15% was across the board?
Across the board at the State Department, yes.
Okay, my next question, I just want to clarify some statements. So when it comes to the consular affairs, there seems to be a discrepancy as far as the cuts, because we have reporting that there were cuts made, and you're saying that there were no cuts made. Is that correct?
There were no cuts in consular affairs. I would just hearken back to what I said before.
So our information that we have is different. If we can reconcile that with
We'd be
further
happy to work with
information.
you on that. I think a lot of it stems back to the fact that the decision and the memo that was signed for reorganization and reduction in force is effective May 29th, and a lot of any of those people that were impacted were probably in a different place, maybe in an office that had been eliminated on May 29th.
Well, as long as we can reconcile it, because the information we have, it does say that there were cuts. And so we want to see that because we're concerned about the impact that those cuts would have specifically on processing passports and visas. So once we get that, we can reconcile that and move forward. The second thing I wanted to talk about also were some of the cuts that were made to personnel in Syria. Now, Syria has been an area that's been very fragile, and we're starting to see some an uptick or some hope in Syria. Reducing the number of the regional experts working on Syria at the same time as the State Department is working on reopening its embassy in Damascus is not just counterintuitive, but it also seems like a step backwards. It puts American citizens directly in harm's way across the Middle East. I recently returned from a CODEL with Chairman Lawler, in which the issue was raised directly. What steps are you taking actually to protect and make sure that we have adequate amount of personnel in Syria, but also to support so we can make sure Syria does not regress?
Thank you, Congresswoman, for that very good question. I'm thrilled to be able to have been part of the initial discussions about the changes that took place as a result of President Trump's trip to the Middle East a little more than a month ago. It was during that time that he was able to, the president himself was able to meet with the president of Syria, and as a result of that, quite frankly, everything in the Middle East has changed. We are looking forward to giving the Syrian people and the Syrian government an opportunity to, an economic and diplomatic opportunity to deal with the rest of the world. As in this seat, as Undersecretary of Management, I worked hand in glove with our Operations Center task force, which was put in place to make sure that we looked at all of...
Because my time is running out.
Please.
We want to know about implementation and the proper number of personnel to carry out that implementation. So with those cuts, We want to know how you're going to fill it. Do they have the accurate expertise to make sure that we're successful in Syria?
I have very good news for you, Congresswoman. I do work very, very closely with our ambassador to Turkey. His name is Tom Barrack. He is also the special envoy to Syria, and he's already made a couple of trips to Damascus to meet with the president of Syria. Many of the functions that are required to get the proper security in place and get the right team in place in order for him to make that trip successful and to raise the flag above our embassy there, our ambassador's residence there on May 29th, fall under the purview of the Management Bureau. And I was thrilled to be a part of that. We are looking every single day. Every time he wants to take a trip to the region, we work hand in glove with...
So as my time is running out, could we receive from your office specific details of what steps were taken so we can be able to make sure that we're on an upward course and not a downward trajectory by having the proper amount of personnel?
I'm happy, Congresswoman, to work with you on that, yes.
Thank you. I yield back.
Mr. Cunningham, I just want to follow up on one thing. In today's threat environment, cybersecurity and counterintelligence must be fully integrated into all levels of State Department operations, with functions spread across various bureaus and families. Coordination and clarity are critical. How is the Bureau of Management overseeing counterintelligence and cybersecurity functions department-wide?
Thank you, Chairman, for that question. In today's multipolar world where we are facing challenges that are so unique to the 21st century, obviously defending against cyber attacks is a very important function of the Management Bureau. We've identified and responded to two very specific nation-state cyber attacks recently, and we're doing everything we can to ensure that our records retention and records review of anything related to WhatsApp and Signal are part and parcel of what we do. We also have done something through this reorganization, sir, to make sure that all of the, in fact, I think it was 7 or 8 bureaus in the department had their own IT shops. And so we have consolidated that under our Chief Information Officer, and we'll get the economies of scale that we need out of that operation.
Furthering up on this, what steps are being taken to embed counterintelligence awareness and training into the daily operations of overseas missions?
That's a very important question, sir. There are a number of trainings that take place. In fact, we're reimagining the kind of training that is necessary. Earlier, I think one of your colleagues mentioned the Foreign Service Institute. We're making sure that we have the right kind of training and skill sets in place that will address any counter-terrorist issues before they head off and go overseas. In fact, I think next week I'm going through 2-day training just to make sure that I understand what that training entails and make sure that it also matches our goals in the America First foreign policy agenda.
Appreciate that. I thank the witness for his valuable testimony, as well as the members for their questions. I thank the ranking member as well. The members of the subcommittee may have some additional questions for the witness, and we will ask you to respond to these in writing. Pursuant to committee rules, all members may have 5 days to submit statements, questions, and extraneous materials for the record, subject to the length limitations. Without objection, the committee stands adjourned.